Now, while much of the focus has been on the Madlanga Commission and the Ad-Hoc Committee, rightfully so, there is another inquiry that has heard jaw-dropping testimony in Parliament. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts probe has revealed shocking allegations of lengthy disciplinary processes, exorbitant amounts spent to protect the Road Accident Fund's CEO at the time, among other serious inefficiencies within this organisation. Now, the RAF board also recently placing its acting CEO, CFO, Chief Governance Officer and the head of the CEO's office on precautionary suspension. So a lot has been coming out here in a probe that SCOPA is trying to get into the bottom of the inefficiencies in that particular organisation. Let's speak now to SCOPA Chair Songezo Zibi, who's joining us via video link. A very good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. While watching the proceedings, so much has come out and one doesn't even know where to begin in order to try and dissect what you have been able to hear. It does, though, give us a glimpse into the scale of dysfunction for an entity that has, been so critical over the years. Songezo, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right.
I just missed the last part of your question.
I was just asking to say that you've heard so much about what has been going on top of what you've already been told and been able to discover on your own as to what exactly is going on here. It just gives us a glimpse into the scale of dysfunction here within this entity.
Yes, I think dysfunction is the right way to describe it, because what has come out so far is an organization where normal governance processes were circumvented, where there were arbitrary decisions taken before proper consideration could be given to the implication of those decisions. I will give just two examples for illustration for the viewers. The first is that there was a decision taken to change the accounting policy of the organization, which had a profound impact on claimants, about 500,000 claimants of the Road Accident Fund. That decision appears to have taken place without any recorded executive committee meeting, as well as the consideration of the board happened after other suppliers had been consulted in order to implement the decision. That's one example. The second example is how an external company was contracted to the tune of 500 million rand and another one contracted to the tune of the same. So there was about 1 billion rand worth of procurement which was externalized, and the invoices for that expenditure were just approved without any examination or question by the Road Accident Fund, which means those suppliers were free to procure from anyone, including relatives and friends and so on, including inflated prices, which the Road Accident Fund did not, by their own admission in front of the inquiry, did not examine and ask any questions about. So the extent of the financial mismanagement and loss is yet to be quantified, but it appears to run at least into hundreds of millions.
And it adds to that, right, is the fact that some employees would be placed on suspension as far as back as 2021. They've not been charged. They're not appearing before disciplinary hearings, yet they would be acting employees that are put in these particular positions, which subsequently means that you're paying two people for one job.
Yes, and on top of that, what we've also seen through the documentation that we've subpoenaed is that the Road Accident Fund, unlike other employers, so for internal disciplinary processes, they would engage external lawyers who get paid per hour. They would engage external chairpersons who are usually counsel, who are charging by the hour. And these cases would go on for years and years, up to 5 years. If my recollection is correct, the Road Accident Fund has spent over 100 million rand over the last 5 years on such cases. In many of those cases, the employees simply remain on suspension for more than 4 years. They get paid, and the people who are acting on their behalf get paid an acting allowance, while the cases just go on undealt with. In some of the cases, the Road Accident Fund only took action against those employees who have been suspended once the Standing Committee on Public Accounts started asking questions about why people were on suspension for so long. Of course, there's other cases too where the Road Accident Fund has accumulated billions in default judgments because they fired their panel of attorneys. They had no attorneys to replace them. And each of their current attorneys right now has a caseload of up to 5,000 cases each, which means they are required in court at the same time in 4 to 5 different courtrooms. And every time they can't appear because they are in another courtroom, the Road Accident Fund has to pay the full legal costs of the hearing that has to be postponed. Alternatively, the Road Accident Fund is to take a default judgment where the claim is possibly inflated to a degree that is way more than what the Road Accident Fund would have ordinarily paid for if they decided to defend the claim.
This is really hard to hear, and I was, of course, reading in some reports that you were still struggling to get a hold of Mr. Letswalo. Are you winning?
No, we have not yet been able to get hold of him. So when the address that he had been using to correspond with the committee is actually an abandoned house. The sheriff went to visit the house. It's abandoned. There is no furniture. The grass and everything is overgrown. The sheriff was considerate enough to take some pictures to prove to us. It's evident that the house has not been inhabited for a while. We have, however, been able to secure a different address for him. And the sheriff went there on Friday, but unfortunately, the sheriff has not been able to locate them either. But we're really keen for him to come to the committee and give an explanation for everything that we've discovered so far, because he's made many statements in the public domain about attorneys, about the Road Accident Fund, and so on. And we need him to tell the South African public what was really going on. So we would be very glad if he decided to surface again and say that he will come before the committee. And we need him tomorrow, actually, or the day after.
And I'm going to ask you two questions in one. What happens if you don't get him? What recourse do you have? And then the second question is, there is, of course, concern about some of the witnesses, right, and their protection, because these are people who are giving you important information. How are you dealing with both these matters now?
So two things. If he doesn't come before the committee, we will then continue with our inquiry, notwithstanding, and conclude it. But we will lay criminal charges against him for defying Parliament. And if he's found guilty, he may be sentenced to up to 2 years in prison for failing to appear before Parliament when he's been summoned. So that is the first thing. The second thing is we have worked with the witnesses to ensure their protection. So the witness will appear on Friday. Will not show their face. It will be a virtual meeting, and by agreement with that witness, we will not say who they are. We'll use a pseudonym, but the Parliament legal team and myself will know who that person is, with confirmation from other government agencies that it is indeed the person, like Home Affairs, the Special Investigating Unit, before whom he has supplied information and so on, so that the committee knows that they are speaking to the right person.
Briefly, before I let you go, are you now safe? Because there was concern even around intimidation as far as you are concerned, because it seems some people are unhappy about what you're doing.
No, I mean, I wouldn't know, but I'm particularly more concerned about the employees and former employees of the Road Accident Fund who don't have the possibility of providing added protection. Fortunately, about, I would say 80% of those people have nonetheless cooperated, and we've put measures in place to make sure that they are safe. I think the important thing is to continue with the work, so that those who may be tempted to try unlawful means in order to stop the process realize that it's a futile effort, and we've been successful so far, and I'm really grateful for it.
All right, let's speak then soon, because what is coming out there is really mind-boggling. But thank you so much for speaking to us. Appreciate your time. That's the chairperson of SCOPA there, Songezo Zibi, speaking to us about this probe into the Road Accident Fund that Parliament is actually continuing with some important work there.